I'm Lily James and I play Mieke. Mieke is working in the Kaiser's house as a maid, but she's actually part of the Dutch resistance, so she's a spy put there by England, by Winston Churchill, to convey a message to the Kaiser. So she's not who she appears to be. And on top of that, she is also Jewish. So she has a very big secret. The script genuinely is one of the best scripts. Well, I think it's the best script I've read, in one of those rare moments where you go, wow, and the characters and the story, and it's a thriller, but it's set in the Second World War. It's got this sort of rare mixture of lots of different elements, but the tone of it was just so intriguing and dark, but with great love and hope. And I was really drawn to Mieke because everything's very internal. She's carrying so much. She has such a potent, powerful history. Her husband and her father were murdered by the SS. So she's an orphan. She's completely alone. David described her as having a silent heart. She's sort of carrying this grief and so is fiercely determined, powered by sort of hatred and revenge, to be a part of the resistance. And despite that, she falls in love with a German officer because she's so full. And that relationship I was just sort of intoxicated by it because it's so complicated. And also really pure, which is quite unbelievable when you realise she's a Jewish girl that's fallen in love with a Wehrmacht officer. So,
and
no, I'd never worked with any of the cast, and they've been amazing.
What was it like working with Christopher?
Working with Christopher Plummer was really, it's been a real moment and so memorable. I remember being in the dining room scene and it was really magical. He has this explosion and I'm supposed to be stood there as Mieke not looking, and I just wanted to stare at him because I was so drawn in, and he does it all in one take. It's so instant and it's so rich, and I've just loved watching him. I just think he's completely phenomenal, and he is so amazing as the Kaiser because he's so... I just fell in love with him, which, despite all his everything that's wrong with him and his opinions and his, he's so eccentric. David, what was really unique on this film was we had a week of rehearsals, and working with David in the rehearsal room was just so brilliant. I had a pencil and I was just scribbling the whole time because he had such clear ideas about the characters and clear ideas about the story. So Jai and I got to work together for this week, and it was really, really exciting.
Is that very unusual?
I've never had rehearsals like that before for anything else. Maybe not with the other actor, not where we were actually getting to try it out and explore, because I think the relationship between Brandt and Mieke is so complicated, and despite everything, the world is pulling them apart. They have completely different views, they're just completely different. They fall in love, and that needs to feel really rich, and so we spent a lot of time on that. Yeah, I think the way their relationship develops is so specific to the time. I think it's war, it's life and death. The stakes are so much higher, and especially it's a kind of topsy-turvy love that starts, it's really through sex, and it's this sort of sensual animal connection, and then the feelings come later and surprise them both. And I think that need, that urgency, that kind of raw passion is what comes about when there's nothing to lose, and you never know what's going to happen the next day. So, yeah. I think what I hope when the film comes out, it will connect to an audience in a way. I think it's a really interesting story and about the Kaiser, which is, I didn't know much about him and that he was living in Holland, and it's sort of this little part of history that I think is quite neglected. So that's really fascinating in itself. And then beyond that, the human relationships, the love that develops between Mieke and the Kaiser, and Brandt and Mieke, and also I was watching The Monitor and watching Janet and Christopher with their moments, and Eddie Marzan and Ben, and I was just in awe. It's such brilliant acting and so skillfully done, and I was sort of, it gave me great faith when I saw that. Yeah. And it's so shocking. It's so shocking hearing Himmler at dinner talk about, killing disabled children, and so casually at this. And it's, God, you can't help but your heart, and you relate to it in a way. You just can't believe it really happened, and it's true. And that's, I think, when you witness something like that in a film or you read about it, it's really good to confront what happened. And it's great drama. It's like, yeah. They always start smiling. Jai and I got to work in rehearsals, but also, I'd never done a part like this that was so intense, physically and emotionally, and we had to be sort of really open and uninhibited with each other. And Jai is the most generous, supportive actor, and he made me feel instantly sort of safe, and that's so unique. And that's a really special quality in him, and he's also brilliant. And I loved how Mieke and Brandt's, there was a sort of real innocence to it that I didn't expect, a sort of a boyish charm to Brandt, despite, again, where they are in the suffering and the pain of the war. There was a purity to his character. He seems uncynical, despite both characters are shouldering such burdens of what they've been through. Jai physically is scarred and in pain, and having his whole internal conflict. But despite that, they sort of, I guess they've got nothing to lose, so they connect in a way that's just about two people sort of falling for each other. Like good about enough about Jai. I guess working with David on set was, again, like in rehearsals, he's so emotionally in tune with the piece and people. So his notes were very, kind of enriching in that they weren't too specific, but very about the story and where we've come from, and remembering certain aspects of I don't know if this is very good what I'm saying. Is it? Yeah. But now I've just laughed and ruined it. Sorry. Rewind. Yeah. I just need to think about it.
So his notes were not so specific, but knowing emotionally where the story is.
Yeah. I think on set, when in the chaos of what's going on, and especially when time is of, we had to do a lot each day. It was a big demand on pages, and David would sort of find a way to remind you of what was going on in the story, which is so wonderful as an actor, because sometimes you can lose touch of that. And I guess that's because he's worked a lot in the theatre. He sort of knows how to cut into the kind of the truth of a moment.
What's she saying about me?
Oh, horrible things!
Not done yet.
Horrible things! Telling him.
Broken the lines.
There's quite a few moments that I found moving, sort of watching or being in it. Being in it. The moment when the Kaiser they're in the back of the van, Mieke and the Kaiser, and it's just the most, this Jewish spy that the Kaiser is helping to rescue, and in fact saves Mieke's life. And there's a little beautiful scene where they sort of tell each other they're going to miss each other, and it was so beautiful and simple, and it was, for me, doing that moment with Christopher was so special, and yeah, and it was sort of, my hairs were on end, and then also I had there's a scene where where Mieke and Brandt are in bed, and again it's sort of like they're in their own little world, and able to escape for a moment the realities of what's going on, and she tells him he's Jewish, and he just says, he makes a joke out of it, says I'm not, and it was such a sort of relief of tension, and I just thought it's a really, in the script and doing it with Jai, it was a really kind of sweet moment almost. Yeah, I think actors really trust David, so they're willing to bare themselves and give a lot, because he creates a really safe environment for that, and makes you want to be bold and brave. And also, I was going to say about Jai, that what Jai did as an actor, which I just think was amazing, was he had such darkness but also a real lightness, and I think that's a real sort of skill in that. And also he likes drinking red wine with me while we're filming.